Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vegan Bree. I usually talk about all things vegan, cruelty-free, like beauty or beauty or vegan related, like food hauls and stuff like that. But I also am this is so weird to explain, like I'm interested in true crime and like the psychology behind it. My minor was psychology. I feel like I'm like circa like my high school college area, but it is hot outside, okay? Anyway, so I was interested in this case. I first heard about it. I haven't seen anybody cover it. I did a lot of research on this, like lots of articles. Like some of the articles had more information, some of them had less, some of them had different things. Like it was kind of confusing. But anyway, I feel like I have a good grasp on this. This is the Cape Cornell double murders. So I saw this come up on my YouTube that he's convicted. The convicted zieler elbowed his attorney. Really lame, but he elbowed his attorney and I was like, what? And I didn't see this live. I only got like little clips and stuff that I could watch of the actual trial, and I don't really feel like it was very well covered personally. So I did look a bunch of articles and everything, and I feel like I have a good grasp on it. I wish I could have gotten more background information on both of the victims, but I just couldn't. This is a case from like 1990, so I don't know. And it did get a lot of coverage, it sort of got a lot of coverage, but just the details are kind of like, This is the case of Robin, Cornell, and Lisa Story. Robin was 11 and Lisa was 32. I've been rereading from my laptop, but I am saying the correct things. I'm not well versed in this. I've only done one true crime video before. So this was in Cape Cornell. Cape Cornell is known for its 400 miles of canals, and some refer to it as a waterfront wonderland. This is in Florida, due to it having more miles of canals than anywhere else in the world. Cape Cornell population as of 2023 is 935,000 people, but back when this case took place in 1990, the population was 223,000 people. And it is located near the Fort Myers area. So Robin Marie Cornell was born on November 30th, 1978. She was 11 years old and was in the 5th grade. And she was described as a prankster. She loved scary movies. She loved, just little, like you would think an 11-year-old. Like riding her bike, playing with her friends, that kind of stuff. And then I couldn't find any information on like her father. She did have an older sister, but just not very well covered on like the actual like who these people were. So Lisa Story was 32 years old. She had a boyfriend. They had been together for a few years. They had broken up one time, but they were together at the time of this incident. So everything was normal until the night of Wednesday, May 9th, 1990. Jan was Robin's mother. Jan and Lisa had recently become roommates. They both had worked together. And this is from what I could see, like a 2-story condo. But Lisa had just moved into the home like that day, like fully. Maybe she moved in like a couple days prior, like 2 days max. But she had fully moved in that day. Jan, that night, left her house at 11 p.m. to go spend the night with her boyfriend, who is now her husband, Donnie Batista. I don't know why they said her friend in other articles, because it wasn't just her friend, it was her boyfriend. But she had instructed Lisa to lock the house in a specific way, so none of the keys worked due to one of the locks being broken. Her plan the next morning was to knock on the front door when she came home the next day. She wasn't going to go to her boyfriend's house at night, but because it was getting late, because it was like a school night. But Robin and Lisa both convinced her to go, and also Jan's boyfriend only lived like 4 minutes away from her actual house. Robin actually, which I found in one article, it was kind of like a muffled article, but begged her mother to let a friend stay over that night, and Jan said no because Robin hadn't cleaned her room. That was in one of the articles, and it was a basketball game. So this article, I don't feel like it's super accurate. I mean, it's like it's kind of accurate, but it's kind of not accurate. So, it said that Jan was planning on returning home after watching this football game. Well, okay, I'm not a football expert, but we don't have football in America in May. So, like, football ends in February because of the Super Bowl and everything. And this isn't like soccer football. This is like football. But she actually was watching a basketball game. So she was going over to her boyfriend's house to watch a basketball game. Don't know the team. I'm not a big sports person. Sorry. So she was planning on returning home that night. But that's where it said like her friend, this is her boyfriend. But the game had gone into overtime, which again sounds kind of like baseball. I mean, football can be overtime too. But she had actually fallen asleep on the couch, which now makes more sense because our other articles I saw, like, I mean, whatever. If you guys sleep in separate areas because you're not married, whatever. But like, I was like, I would think most couples like would sleep like, in the same room. But anyway, she was sleeping on the couch. So Jan's roommate, 32-year-old Lisa Story, was actually babysitting Jan's daughter, Robin. Jan and Lisa both worked at the Cape Coral Hospital together. Lisa had just started renting a room in the home and fully moved in on May 9th, the date of the incident. Jan woke up on the couch, panicking after she slept a night away from her daughter and rushed home at 4 a.m. She had 30 minutes. I saw different things. It said she had 15 minutes to get to work or 30 minutes to get to work. So she like rushed home to get ready for work and everything, take a shower, get dressed, When she arrived home, she knocked on the door. No one answered. I saw an article where she also like kind of cursed, like, what? Why isn't the door open? Like, hello, I told you to like leave the door unlocked in a certain way. But anyway, you notice that the sliding glass door in the back was open, and she thought maybe Lisa had left it open, like let her cat in and out and stuff. But she didn't really, she thought it was kind of weird, but she also wasn't like, super weird. I saw different articles too where she heard like footsteps in the house, and she was like, oh my God, the house got broken into. I'm worried about Lisa and Robin, like something's gonna happen. But then I saw other articles where it said she didn't hear something, so I don't know. So she entered through that sliding glass door in the back. She saw that the kitchen light was on. Also, her house was like in a complete disarray, like stuff was everywhere, and usually her house was tidy. So she noticed like it's kind of odd. And she saw these photos on an ironing board in the living room. Now, the ironing board was left out because, like, when she was getting ready for work, she had it out so she could get her clothes all ready. But the pictures made her think, like, no, there's something going on. And the 3 pictures were actually of Robin and her older sister. She described the house as ransacked, which usually that's not how it was. She started walking upstairs to the bedrooms. When she got to the top of the steps, she looked down the hall and she saw her 11-year-old daughter, Robin, naked on the floor of the master bedroom. I saw either Robin's bedroom or the master bedroom. So I don't know if there was like multiple masters or what the deal was. And I guess a pillow was propping up her bottom, like her pelvic area. And her face was down in the carpet. She had her legs spread and her genitals were showing and blood was just like everywhere. She said she knew in that moment that she was no longer alive, but she still attempted to revive her. But Robin was cold to the touch. There's also a sex toy next to her daughter. So Jan moved her daughter's body so that she was lying on her back. Jan also said that her daughter looked like she had a lot of congestion, like she had been crying. And I read another article, like one article that she, in that moment, thought it was Lisa, like something had happened with Lisa, which she now regrets because it's not what ended up happening. And Lisa, something else happened to Lisa. So, but I mean, I feel like that would be kind of normal because the person that was watching her, So she was performing life-saving measures even though she knew her daughter was gone until the authorities arrived. Robin had been strangled with her underwear, and then Lisa was later found in her bed in the fetal position with a pillow on her face. They had both been barred, beaten, and smothered with a pillow. They both were SA'd after death, and Lisa also had injuries to her bottom area, and Robin had injuries in her vaginal area. Jan's last words to her daughter, which I feel like these are the best words you could, like, you hear a lot of people where they are like, we got in a fight, or I regret saying that, or I wish I could have said something better, like my last words. But she had told her daughter, good night, I'm going to Donnie, which was her boyfriend, I love you. So this 911 call was, I only heard bits and pieces, but Jan was just screaming and just absolutely traumatized and in a state of shock when she found the bodies. The police collected over 300 samples. The killer had left behind some of their blood, which ended up being type O blood. Also a hair on Robin. There was semen also on the sheets, the pillow, and inside Robin's bed. And they There also was Toyota car keys on a TV in Jan's room. And there was a white, so the DNA ended up showing that it was a white male. And the killer had, so I don't know how they know this, but I mean, obviously they found this out. The killer had taken Lisa's driver's license, credit cards, checkbook, and a new wristwatch that her boyfriend had either given to her, but I believe it was that something she was going to give to Randy. So I'm pretty sure, I would think that she had, I guess, told somebody, because it said, like, to Randy, love Lisa. So I was wondering, like, how would they know that? But I guess she told, like, a friend that she was going to give that to Randy. Randy Richards was her boyfriend. And none of these items have ever been recovered. So the police have found a pair of white socks on a dining room chair that did not belong to anyone in that lived in the house. And also 70 people were cleared of committing the crime. They took a lot of men's DNA. Nothing matched. Again, this was in 1990. Jan described that it felt like she was watching a scary movie where you had to close your eyes. Like, it was just so horrific. It is believed that the killer entered the home for the back sliding glass door where Jan had entered as well, then walked upstairs to the bedroom and entered Lisa's room and suffocated her with a pillow. Then Robin heard a noise and came to investigate and was silenced with blows to the face. They both were beaten, and then suffocated with a pillow and obviously her undergarments as well. It is also believed that the killer ransacked the house, found a adult magazine and a sex toy belonging to Lisa, and then violated the victims. There were also footprints in the bathroom suggesting that the killer took a shower after the killings. Drain contents were supposedly not collected and tested. And also, I guess there wasn't the sex toy, like the fingerprints were not tested. And so, or like collected. And then also there was stolen credit cards that were never used. And also the hair, which was a blonde hair, supposedly was never tested as well. So let's talk about the suspect, okay, who is now convicted. Joseph Zieler was born on April 15th, 1962 in Evergreen Park, Illinois. He lived there until he was 16, and it's kind of muffled also on his background. He said that his mother wanted him to finish high school. So this is him testifying, by the way. I only got I couldn't get all the clips, but his mom apparently wanted him to finish high school. So they moved to Florida. Just so awful that she wanted you to finish school. So terrible. There's not a whole lot of information on his childhood. He's disgusting. If you see him or hear his voice, it's just ugh. But according to Joseph, he never knew his biological father because his mother did not want him to know who he was, even though there is a man who Joseph Zieler has his last name and who that's supposedly his dad, and he says that Joseph's his son, but whatever. He even goes I'm gonna say my parents. That's what I'm used to saying. Nobody cares, buddy. No one cares. So anyway, he had two brothers, an older brother named Robert Joseph Zieler that he was raised with. He says, and he goes also when he's testifying, he tries to control the show where he's yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And we'll get to that in a minute. And then also Steve, who was his brother that was 5 years older than him. So he had two older brothers. One that passed away in 2008. The man that he claims is his father, that claims that his father, even though whatever, is named Robert. Robert was on the Cape Coral police force from September 1979 to December 1984 when he was let go. When I saw this, I was like, are you for real? This is why he got let go. Okay. So, it's just ridiculously silly. He was caught breaking into a restaurant, get this, because he was stealing crab legs, steak, and a cheesecake. Was it all cooked or something? In 1983. He was put immediately on leave. I don't know if it was paid or not. And eventually pled guilty to the crime. He was arrested on December 11th, 1984 on charges to burglary and grand theft and was later sentenced to 5 years probation and 750 community service hours. His law enforcement certification was revoked in November 1986. As of 1990, Robert said his father lived in a houseboat and was retired and mentioned his arrest. So the person that supposedly saw him stealing these things, which I'm what? First of all, you're a cop. Second of all, why? If you're gonna steal, why would you steal food? Stupid. And then the guy was it's kind of dumb because, and obvious that he was going to lose his job because, like, he saw it happen. So, like, anyway, what a fantastic cop. So, Joseph had at the time of 1990, he had a Maryland driver's license. And he said that this is not, like, all these reasons why he's not the person, even though it's like, hello, you'll find out later on why he's the person. He said that he was involved in some other crimes and, like, involved in court and stuff back, like, when this was actually happening. So after the killings, he met his partner of 26 years, Bonnie, and it was actually a month after the killings. And they were together up until he was charged with the murders. They also had a son named Zachary. I don't know why I said stepson because he says it's his son. So I don't know if it was biological or what the deal was. But he was arrested in July of 1990. So a few months after the killings. He was arrested in Lee County for a battery on a law enforcement officer / firefighter. Charges were later dropped. Also, no DNA was collected because it wasn't collected for a while. He's also found guilty of carrying a concealed firearm, dealing in trafficking, stolen property, and resisting an officer with violence. Wonderful person. His only arrest after that was getting busted for weed, but no charges were filed. Then on August 27th, 2016, he was arrested for shooting his son with a pellet gun. And I was trying to find if that's how Zachary actually ended up dying or not. But again, I just could not find an obituary. I could not find a lot of information. His girlfriend had taken him to the hospital because he's having breathing problems. And I don't know if he died at the hospital or he died as a result of I don't really know. I tried and tried and tried. But anyway, Joseph went on try to run away, even though it was like, hello, like, people saw you, stupid. So Zachary and his father had gotten into an altercation. All right, this is editing me. Forgot a couple things. So after, like, looking over everything, so I'm going to include those now. So Joseph Zieler shot his son, but he's never charged with his death. So anyway, and he also referred to his son as a drunk, so assuming they didn't have a great relationship. He was drinking apparently during the incident. After this arrest, his DNA was entered into CODIS, and in November, they got a match. His DNA matched the DNA that was on the bedsheet of Robin's bed, as well as the pillowcase, as well as the DNA that was inside of her. So in 2009, that's when they started taking DNA from all those that are arrested, as well as fingerprints in Florida. And that should be every state personally, but I think that would solve a lot of crimes. Because getting someone's DNA, it's not like you have a database of everybody's DNA in the entire world. And then you just so happen to put it in and it's like, boom, there it is. He said he had a bad memory because he was in a motorcycle accident. Just so happened to just forget, like, the incident time, like the time period of the incident. Even though when Zieler was actually interviewed by the cops, he never mentioned anything about a memory problem. So not suspicious at all. But this wasn't very good. But the juror had been removed due to sleeping multiple times. I mean, also his attorney argued that the evidence had been tampered with, which it's DNA. Which, I mean, I'm not saying you can't tamper with DNA, but I'm like, what would be the motive? Like, why this dude out of all people? So, because there was hairs that were missing from this said folded paper and evidence. So, which, I mean, I'm not saying things don't happen, but again, like, why this guy out of all people? Like, wasn't like a new case, still a case that needed solved, but like, out of all people, like, why you? Kind of random. And there's also 3 beer cans found on Lisa's nightstand, but they don't know if it was Lisa's, which they also were like, oh, maybe she was drinking, blah, blah, blah. Like, she still ended up dead. I don't think it was from the beer. During the trial, while Joseph was testifying, he gave the jury the bird, aka, like, you know, the middle finger. He stared at the camera, also stared at Robin's mother, Jan, on and off the stand. He called Jan a pig, and that the only way that his DNA could have been there was because she hadn't washed her sheets in months. Even though he doesn't even know if he did sleep with her or he didn't sleep with her, and Jan was like, absolutely not, like, no. But yeah, he called her a pig because obviously she'd be a pig for not washing her sheets. He said that he might have had sex with Jan months before the murder in December 1989, but that's the only way his DNA could ever have been on those. And if she's not washing those sheets for months and months, she's a pig. Jan denied ever meeting Joseph and did not sleep with him. Police also said that the DNA would not still be there on the sheets months later. The verdict only took 3 hours to get this just phenomenal person convicted and also death sentence on the table. Also, this wonderful time prior to this took forever because of COVID and everything, and just he's playing games. So he got arrested in 2016, and then he got convicted in 2023, like June. It's just ridiculous. And when Jan found out that his DNA was linked to the murders, she, for 45 minutes, just said, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And she hadn't even been able to cremate her daughter because they were like, "Oh, well, just in case we need it for DNA, whatever." So finally in 2010, she was able to cremate her because she said she always wanted her to be close to her. Just awful. And until he was arrested, which I'm sure she might still do, but it just said for the last 17, it said that she every Sunday would go to her daughter's grave and put flowers on her grave. Just awful. And so she would never stop fighting until she found, until they could rest. So Lisa's boyfriend Randy described the effects of Lisa's death on her family. He said that her death deteriorated her father and her mother died of a broken heart. Susan Gibson, Lisa's older sister, was unable to attend the sentencing hearing, but she did write a statement saying, "I feel like I slammed into a brick wall." She was in psychotherapy for a year, and the death of her sister greatly affected their brother as well. She said in Lisa's 32 years, she was a cheerleader, international student, motorcyclist, and photographer, among other things. So the defense's closing during the penalty phase hearing the same day is when he elbowed his attorney in the face. So yeah, that's how I actually heard about this case, was when he elbowed his attorney in the face during the sentencing penalty phase of this whole case. And the defense also argued that the sexual battery charge, because the coroner did not take samples of the damaged tissue, aka her Robin's area, which, I mean, this is 1990, so maybe they didn't do that back then. I don't know. Again, DNA wasn't really, I'm sure it kind of was a thing, but not like how it is now. So, but they did take a lot of other, evidence. So it's not like they just, it's not like they didn't take evidence. It's just maybe they weren't thinking of every single little thing. But I feel like as a defense, you're trying to get anything to get the person off, even though it's So his defense attorney argued that he doesn't know the answer to why the coroner did not take the samples, but speculates that it's because a sexual battery was not believed to have taken place, even though but the tissue was damaged. And she was 11 and had DNA inside of her from another dude. I'm not saying that it's impossible for a child to have sex, but I think it's very unlikely. And if it's damaged, that probably means that it was not consensual, most likely. But Judge Robert Branning announced the sentencing after hearing 6 witnesses, which included friends and family of both victims, and he was sentenced to 2 death sentences. It sucks that it took 33 years to get this get closure. Jan was able to go to her daughter's urn and basically say, you can rest now. Because, I just can't imagine, you lose your daughter. So you saw these people. Your daughter's dead, your friend's dead, and you don't know who did it. This dude, he was not even on the radar. They had, cross-offs, hundreds of men, and this dude was never on the radar. And he also wrote them letters. He wrote her letters. 3 letters being "Oh, well, I'm not going to give you retribution," or "It's not me, it's someone else." He said, when he was testifying too, he was "Oh no, that was for the whole family, not just her," which he's pending charges for that, even though I'm just gross. And he, again, I could not watch all of it. It wouldn't let me. I just tried to find clips, But he just starts rambling on about some crap about how it's impossible because there was a case and he was, dealing with a case in Maryland when this all happened. So it's impossible. And his driver's license is Maryland and blah, blah, blah. So the judge had to tell the jury to leave because he's just going off about nonsense. He just was disgusting. And then in his teeth, he put this styrofoam in his upper teeth, like a grill, and it had killer. So what has happened since? Well, Joseph Zieler, I just saw this yesterday. This is August that I'm filming. I started filming this in July, late July, a week ago. So Joseph Zieler said in an email from July 13th, 2023, that he is still innocent and that his attorneys did not focus on evidence pointing to another perpetrator. Zieler's attorney, Kevin Shirley, said he will not be pressing charges for the whole, elbowing incident. He said that he would have elbowed, and Joseph, also real classy dude, said he would have elbowed his other attorney, Hollander, if he wasn't so old and I wasn't so kind. This is a direct quote, by the way. I would have targeted him with the elbow. Zieler remains at the Lee County Jail until a separate case closes, charging him with harassing Jan Cornell, the whole letter thing. He wrote her letters. So he wrote her letters, but he says that it wasn't just to her, it was to the whole family. So even better. Basically saying he wasn't going to pay retribution and that she should just drop the charge, which this is state. This isn't her. Basically saying she's a liar, which again, she didn't even know you. There's theories that he was stalking them, but I don't know. He was stalking the mom, he was stalking the kid, if he was stalking Robin, he was stalking Jan, Lisa. It's just, I don't know. The whole situation is odd to me. Obviously, it's just odd on all levels. But anyway, a different public defender will be involved in that case because I'm pretty sure the attorneys probably did withdraw. We done with this dude. He will then be transferred to Railford's Florida State Prison, waiting for execution. So, which I don't want to get into death sentence and stuff because I feel like I'm more in the middle. But it's I don't want to pay for this dude. I don't want Florida to pay for this dude. I'm gonna do a whole nother video on how much a prisoner actually costs compared to and also death row versus just a prisoner, which one costs more and that kind of issue. So yeah, this is what I got so far. I really wish I was able to get more information about the victims. It's just kind of really grainy. I see different things in different articles and it's kind of confusing, but I feel like I had a pretty good understanding of the case and hopefully, if anything comes out, which about this dude, about the case, which I don't think it's going to because I feel like it's done. It's not done as in just because this guy gets a death sentence and even if he does, get executed, which it takes a while, unfortunately, it doesn't mean his family's oh, great, done, fantastic. It's closure where the book is kind of closed, but it's also the pain doesn't go away. Losing somebody doesn't go away no matter how many years it is. It's it still hurts. Maybe you always have that hole, so anyway, condolences go to both families and also even Joseph Zieler's family, his girlfriend or his ex-girlfriend or his wife or whatever. That'd be pretty disgusting. You were living with this person and he did something absolutely heinous. And also, hopefully he didn't do this to anybody else, but it's usually not a one-off that somebody but I don't know, it seemed kind of sloppy to me. It just unfortunately took a long time because they didn't have his DNA. Even though he had been arrested before, charges were always dropped and they didn't have his DNA. They weren't taking DNA. So let me know your thoughts on that too. Do you agree with them taking DNA in Florida and other states that do that automatically to get arrested, or your stance on the DNA? Because there's a whole argument on also DNA with Ancestry and other companies like that, them having access to your DNA. So yeah, enjoy this video. You can give me any recommendations on cases you want me to research and do videos on. I also do a lot of makeup content, but I'm also interested in true crime. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Please stay safe.